I will be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all of the difference. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your humble host, Dennis Carroll, and this is another episode two of The Road Less Traveled. I want to say hello, a big hello to everybody out there in podcast land tonight. I'm fixing to bring on my very good friend and co-host, Mr. Gerald Fountain. Let's get him up here. Come on in, Gerald. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Been waiting for this
I
all
hear
week.
you. I hear you. Well, we've got an interesting show, I think, planned for everybody out there tonight. We're going to be talking about backyard aliens, especially backyard aliens in Las Vegas tonight. Sin City, all right? And we're going to be talking about that tonight. And we're going to make some announcements on some upcoming shows in a little while here. I want to say hello to everybody that's checking in, Aussie Sue and Shiro and Moony Noon and Urso and David Pardue. Hello, David, and I want to welcome all of you in tonight. I hope this is going to be an interesting show, and we'll entertain you for the next hour or so. Hello, Abbott. I go feel some of those weird eggs that fell from the sky. Okay. There's some weird stuff out there, all right. Absolutely. And I'm not just talking about people. We're talking about aliens here. And it's bad enough, especially when you get aliens in your backyard. Okay. That's the problem right there. So what do you think about that, Gerald?
Yeah, I mean, you hear about sightings all the time. I mean, we have Roswell and all that. So out west, it seems like you have a lot of this weird stuff goes on. I mean, I would suspect Vegas would have something weird like that. So I don't know.
Yeah. Things can get a little weird out in the Southwest there, definitely. Uh, Especially around the Four Corners area. I used to have a good friend out there. He is sadly not with us anymore. But J.C. Johnson was a good friend of mine, and he covered the Southwest, the Four Corners area, New Mexico, Nevada, and Arizona, and Colorado, places out all that back out in there. He had some interesting stories to tell. A lot of weird, strange things go on out there uh, in the deserts and in the southwest western area out in there. It's very strange stuff. Um, he always used to tell some very interesting stories and had some strange experiences. That's one place I've always wanted to go hang around a while, see what you might find out. God-forsaken areas of the world where anything can still happen. Hello, Roger. Welcome aboard. Just saying hello to everybody checking in. They're slowly checking in tonight.
Yep.
And yeah, have you ever been to Vegas, Las Vegas?
No, I have
Girl?
not. I have not been there.
It's
There
a big
actually,
state. It is a big state. Got a lot of different areas of it. There's the mountainous areas. You got the deserts. You got a lot of the forest areas. One thing I always remember about Nevada, that's the setting for Bonanza. You remember Bonanza?
yep.
Yeah. Carson City.
Yep. Carson City and
Uh-huh. StreamYard's a little bit slow tonight. Slow on the buttons again. Creaky and old, kind of like me. But anyway. Yeah, well, yeah. that's been something very strange that's been going on. Like, well, believe it or not, it's been about a year ago that this happened, I think, and or last year anyway, back
Yeah,
when
it's
it happened,
2023.
and there's sort of been. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, but there's sort of been a different spin on it a little bit that's come out of that, and just to lay the groundwork of what we're going to be discussing and talking about tonight, I'm going to read everybody just a quick excerpt of some of the newer part of this story. This is Dayline, April 26, 2024, Las Vegas. The Las Vegas teen who claimed he saw non-human beings in his backyard nearly a year ago now claims there have been more strange occurrences in his house. Angel Kenmore, 17, says he saw a cross turn upside down, float in the air, and the pages of a Bible flip over in a room with no breeze. Now Kenmore says he really wants to move. Nearly a year ago, the Kenmore family called police to report a strange 10-foot tall creature in their backyard. Now they claim to be experiencing even stranger events. Kenmore said he and his brother saw a cross from which the figure of Jesus had been ripped off. There was an upside down cross and it was floating upside down, Kenmore said. I was just standing there. It was crazy. We got closer to it and it dropped. News Nation correspondent Alex Caparillo pressed Kenmore on the incident, and you can say definitely without lies that is what you saw. Yes, swear to God, he said, that's what I saw. The other incident involved a Bible that sat on a table, its pages steadily turning with no help and no breeze. Flipping the pages, but it wasn't. From the air, it was steady like someone was holding it, Kenmore said. Kenmore called it another side of a demonic presence in the house. We had a couple of priests come over to the house. They're saying that it might be fallen angels, he explained. So you got a little bit different spin on this now than we had about a year or so ago. But if you want to recap for everybody what happened about a year ago, what the first original thing, go right ahead, Gerald, if you want to.
All right. Well, just like you said, it was Angel and his family are the ones that shot the video of them seeing these creatures, or I'm gonna say aliens instead of creatures, but these aliens in their backyard. And it started out they were 8 or 9 feet tall. Then it's 10 feet tall. As the story goes. But right before that, a police officer had on his body cam this bright green, kind of bluish light coming through the sky on his body cam, and his one of his fellow police officers so that was a security camera from somebody's backyard, and then there's also the police cam is the one that everybody usually shows.
That was the one I would tell you. The cam was shot through the police cruiser window. Right. Yeah, I saw that one there. Strange stuff. But here that's a coincidence. If it was just a meteor, but think about this happening on that same night. And I've often thought about what the psychological things about something like this. Were they already in the mindset that maybe there was UFO activity going on? Were they already thinking about something like that? They already had that on their mind when they thought they saw these aliens being supposedly out in the backyard. Now, their backyard is not just a regular backyard, like a small suburb. I think it had some equipment out there, some kind of a equipment like a
Yeah,
forklift, I think, and
yeah,
some other
it
stuff.
had trucks and some backhoes or something, some heavy equipment.
Right. And they said that one of these beings was seen amongst some of that equipment walking around out there. And the other one, and I'm gonna show that in just a second here.
Era secondo che chiede para acá de cables. Ay, quiero tiene cable la de él. El concha partelo, concha, sí se lo. Ay, bueno, muy. Tiene que hablar lo que te acuerdo con la.
If you look down through there, you can, when you're looking down through towards that red truck, and behind that red truck, there's something moving there.
Right.
And it's very tall, whatever it is, because if you know your average pickup truck is what, about 7 foot high, probably.
Yeah.
This looks like at least 2 feet above that. You know, to me, what you can see. It's very poorly shot, unfortunately, as you can't see a lot of what's going on with that. But now, right next to them, there is a wall of a privacy fence. Okay, you might say it's not really a wall. You can see through it. I don't know why they call them privacy fences, Earl. They're not that private. But anyway, you can see something moving behind that as well. Now, the crime scene investigators who went over this the other day, and he's one of the world experts on this stuff, put diagrams up and all. They went frame by frame and examined this shot. And they say there is definitely something behind that wall moving. But it looks to be like the other thing over the truck that we talked about.
Right.
Might be cloaked, might be some kind of cloaked thing. It may have some kind of invisibility type cloak to it or something. Did you pick up on that?
Yep. So that video that I sent you that you just played, I picked it because it was the original video, but somebody actually translated it to English so we could understand what they were saying, and as the thing happened. And what they noticed is that that not only were the alien in their backyard or that lot, but they suspected that one of them was actually in the cab of that excavator or whatever that equipment was, and then the other one was right next to them behind a fence. And that's the one where these investigators went through to prove that this isn't something superimposed on the image or the video. It's actually there behind it, like something's cloaked.
Right. Well, and I think that's what spooked them too. If you get further on in the film, they about right after that point that we just played, they took off. They all got off. They took off running. One of them got spooked, and they all left. But I think that's what I think. It wasn't. It might not have been so much of what they were seeing at a distance out in the yard. I think it might have been something closer up to them at that fence. Is what spooked them. Yeah.
So
that's just what I got from it.
Just like what we talk about all the time, you see something in your peripheral vision, but you can't really see what it is. So they might have been able to pick up on it, even though it was cloaked, kind of there, kind of not there. Or maybe they felt the presence. Maybe they felt the frequency and vibration changing as that thing was behind them or beside them, actually, once they entered the gate.
Well, now the privacy fence that's in the frame would be around, I think, about 6 or 6, maybe 7 foot high as well. Most privacy fences are about 6 foot, I think.
Yeah.
The panel is usually 8 foot long and 6 foot high, and this thing is probably at least a foot over that. I think. Now, let me say this, okay? And I've run into a lot of eyewitness accounts on a lot of different things: cryptids, ghosts, you name it, the whole works. One thing you got to always speculate about, people when they get scared, okay, when they really get traumatized, they tend to see things bigger than what they really are. That's just the way the human mind works, okay? So you got to kind of take with a grain of salt when somebody says something was 10 foot tall, that it may be a lot smaller than it just appeared that way to them. That's like very many years ago, one of the very first Bigfoot cases I investigated. These people were so scared that they said this thing was probably about 10 foot tall. When I measured out the way it would have been there, it come out a little bit of maybe close to 8 foot in height, if what their perception was. And that's the first time I ever run into that. Oh, they exaggerated it a little bit because of fear. That's just the way the human mind works. So let's just say they exaggerated for fear, and they were scared because they all couldn't run. They were scared.
Yep.
It's still around 8 foot tall, at least. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I mean, that's what they reported as first, was like 8 or 9 feet. When they, if you listen to the 911 call into the police, he said it was 8 or 9 feet tall.
Yeah. So some of that stuff about it being 10 foot, I think, was exaggerated by somebody. But anyway, if that's the case, then that privacy fence, it definitely would have been above that privacy fence. Okay. You would have seen it, even if it was cloaked a little bit. Now, let me talk about this cloaking stuff a minute, and I have run into this. You know, we've talked about this kind of predator type thing that some of us have seen. I have seen some action on this thing out in the woods. We don't know. It may be cryptid X or whatever you want to call it. This thing is cloaked and it moves in the bushes and in the trees. You can see the effect on it, but you can still see it though. It's not completely invisible. It's just very well blended and hazy like into that. And I think that's what you're looking at here to a certain extent. It's a cloaking that's not completely invisible. It's just sort of trying to meld itself into the background and not doing a good job. But still, I think that's what they picked up on.
Right. Well, you know, if it actually crashed, you know, maybe the aliens were in stress and maybe they were hurt and they couldn't cloak to their full capability.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It couldn't have been completely invisible if there'd been some kind of a problem going on. If that meteor was actually a ship crashing, you know, I would like to know exactly how far away supposedly that meteor went down from where that location is.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody ever really said anything about that. That's the one thing I would have asked. That's the one thing I would have asked if I went there. How far away did this thing supposedly crash and all that? You got to if you can correlate both of these things happening, then that might give you a better picture of what's really going on that night. But if it's just a regular meteor and it happened to do this at the same time that this went on, I mean, it's a strange coincidence. And like you and I have both said before, many times before, we don't really believe in coincidences that much anymore. Yeah. But that's strange that would happen definitely on that night. So there may be a definite connection between them. I just like to know where exactly that meteor supposedly went down. It looks like, I don't know, it looks like to me in the cruiser shot, it looks like it's coming towards the cruiser a little bit. I can't really, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, it's definitely in the night sky and it's showing bright.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then in the surveillance cameras, you can tell it's going away, you know, from that point. That way. But I'd like to know what vicinity. I'd like to know how far away supposedly it went down. That might tell you something about what's really going on here. And if, like you say, we have to draw a hypothesis on this because that's all we got to go on, conjecture. But let's just say they did crash. They had some kind of problem. They're looking around for something maybe to repair their ship with, or trying to figure out that. And of course, you would end up at a place where there's machinery, maybe looking for something to jury rig apart or whatever the situation.
I
If you're
mean,
gonna do a little jury rigging there,
you could almost speculate that. Okay, what if these are aliens or space travelers? Let's say it that way, that aren't accustomed to Earth and they crashed, and maybe they've never been in our atmosphere or even on our soil, so maybe they're unaccustomed to all the surroundings and what houses look like and fences and machinery. They might not be familiar with how we see normal life here on Earth.
Well, they're not gonna. Well, if you're not from Earth, you're not gonna. Like that old saying, "When in Rome, do as the Romans do." If you're not from Earth, you're not gonna act like that. I mean, you're gonna be in a different environment altogether. It's just like when we go undersea, we have to compensate for that. You're in a different environment altogether. So it would be with aliens,
Well, I'm just saying that person or entity would behave differently because now it might be in survival mode, whether it's trying to find food or maybe it can't breathe right in our atmosphere, or maybe it is searching for equipment, trying to repair its ship. But obviously, I don't think they're going to find that on a Caterpillar or John Deere, or I don't know. I could be wrong. They might be compatible, but I don't think so.
Here's my question, Gerald. Do John Deere parts fit these spaceships? Well, I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe John Deere and Mitsubishi or somebody already makes them, and they're in the future making spaceships.
I see a good John Deere commercial in here somewhere. But anyway, coming up now, we got our supposed photos of the aliens out in the backyard. Now, I say supposed. I think some of this may have already been tagged as a hoax. I'm not sure about that. So I put a big word supposed on this, okay? But these are supposed to be some shots of the alien in the backyard. That's freaky looking right there.
Yeah,
it
is.
It's freaky looking. Yeah. Would you not want to see that out in your backyard one night? No, definitely not. You wouldn't want that to be sitting out on your deck smoking a cigarette. Absolutely not.
So seeing those pictures, I don't see any kind of breathing apparatus, or unless that whole body thing, it looks like you see his ribs and kind of his bones, through the skin. I mean, are they able to breathe our air without any equipment?
That's what you wonder. Well, they're always termed as being described as having very small slits for a mouth and no nose, so evidently there would be some type of air breathing thing, but how they do that, that'll be different. Okay, let's go to the comments a little bit here. We got, don't want to ignore everybody out there. Everybody's saying, hey, I think. Perception filters, yeah. Philip says perception filters. You got to put those on, definitely. And John Fortman just got in. She'll quietly shut the door and tiptoe to an empty seat. Okay. All right. Could the shock wave be a pocket fold to engulf the force to make the landing softer? I think he meant to say, yeah. That's a possibility. You could use sound as a buffer. Sort of like a bumper, a sound bumper, Hey, Crystal, good to have you here. Okay, just air, but radiation, temperature, bacteria would have to be compatible. Yeah, well, maybe. Here's an interesting thought, okay? As the aliens you see, maybe that's some kind of an exosuit, and the real aliens are inside of the skin that you're supposedly seeing. There's been some speculation on that in the past. that what you're seeing is not the true alien form.
Well, that's what I was talking
and what-
about before. If you look at those pictures, you can actually see his ribs and stuff. So that makes me think he's not wearing a suit.
Well, the smart way to do that, girl, if you were going to space travel and go to different planets and all that, you would wear an exosuit. You wouldn't wear tanks and all that. You know what I'm saying? You
Right.
wear a suit that would make you bio significant to wherever you're at. You know, that would be the smart way if you had advanced technology to do. There's been speculation that's what's going on. And here's something else you can think about. What if these so-called aliens are really actually spiritual beings and not physical in the way that you and I are physical? Then they wouldn't have to worry about bacteria or breathing.
Right.
Because they are truly spiritual energy beings. That's another thought. You know, when you come to aliens, you got all kinds of ways to go, you know. Ursa says grays are supposed to be dolls, clones that consciousness is intertwined. Here's another interesting thought, and this is another hypothesis, that the grays are all aliens connected to a central conscious mind. In other words, they are not sentient beings. They are sort of like puppets to a central consciousness, like bees in a beehive, so to speak. You know?
Right. I always refer them as the Borg. If you ever watch Star Trek and that, where the Borg communicate.
The Borg.
Yep.
The Borg. Yeah. The collective consciousness. No, that's another thought, but you know, as you and I were discussing before the show, there is that thought that John Keel talked about, the smoking gun to him also a spiritual smoking gun I talked to you about, is that these things are not really what they appear to be. They're not truly aliens at all, but are actually demons or fallen angels, whatever name you want to call them. That's an interesting hypothesis as well. That could be another answer to a lot of this stuff of what's going on. Now, let me say this: just because they are fallen angels, do not mean they don't have a technology. Okay, I'm gonna blow your mind here for a minute. You go back to the Nephilim and all this other stuff. They could also have a more, shall we say, darker sides. You got to remember, according to the ancient dialogue, that fallen angels gave stuff to mankind, the ability to do war. They supposedly gave women cosmetics, all these other different things that they supposedly gave humankind. So do they not have their own technology? You got to think about that a minute. It's not that far-fetched that angels could not be connected to some type of celestial technology. Even fallen angels. Think about it.
Did you just refer to makeup as being evil and demonic?
Yep. Well, I'm gonna tell you what, Gerald. When you go around kidnapping people, fooling around with their memory, messing around with their body, doing all these kind of things, that's just not in the book of the good guys. Okay. That just don't put you in that category in my book.
Right.
With the good guys, okay? That don't make it no sense to me. And I'm gonna be doing the show pretty soon on hunting the shadows. I'm gonna be calling it reptile dysfunction. Okay, that's the name of the show, reptile dysfunction. And I'm gonna be talking about these reptilians. Okay, y'all don't want to miss this show. Okay, that's coming up on that. We're gonna go deep into the reptiles and what the reptilians really truly are. Okay. Reptile dysfunction.
So when you said that these beings or entities could be demonic or spiritual or dimensional, I automatically thought, okay, well then they're not aliens because they don't need spacecrafts to travel to Earth or to do anything. But then you said they'd still have technology, so I'm kind of back and forth on that.
I think, Gerald, you hit upon a nail there. Okay, you hit on the nail on the head, because I think these things could use celestial mechanics to go to interdimensional portals and stuff to travel from point A to point B, wherever it may be. This is kind of alluded to in the Bible when it talks about how angels travel. Okay, I think that's what we're looking at. We know without a doubt. Okay, anybody that's got any sense knows you're not going to get in a spacecraft and go from Alpha Centauri to here in no time soon. Okay, it's going to take you a long, long time. You're talking about unbelievable, vast, vast amounts of space to cross. You don't do it that way. That don't make sense. That's not the way you space travel. You space travel through dimensional portals. That's the only way to go. Okay. And I'm guarantee you without a doubt, I've seen this with my own eyes, and I'm not going to get into that tonight, but I have seen things I believe transcend from these realities. I call them realities, dimensions, whatever name you want to give them, from one to another, to manifest themselves into a physical realm. Okay. From a spiritual to a physical realm. I believe you're using interdimensional dynamics of some sort, without a doubt. Ursa says, yes, Linda Moulton Howe had come to the conclusion that they did just that, changing to original form and use another doll when needed. Oh, yeah. That's a possibility that could be part of their consciousness. I want to tell you what, the more I look at aliens, like I said just a few minutes ago, the more they don't seem good to me. They don't seem like they have, especially our best interest at heart. Whatever's going on with that. I don't trust them. I don't trust their technology. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could pick up the White House and throw it. Okay. Let's put it that way. I just don't see anything good coming out of these guys. Although some people tend to have a religious slant to it, and I talked about religions on another show the other night. The different religions and different belief systems in the world. Some people believe the space aliens are going to come save us all from ourselves and make everything good. I don't see that happening. I think I go along with Stephen Hawking and some other top brilliant minds who think that it might be a good idea if they don't find us. Because if they do find out we're here, things could go very bad very quickly. And I go along with that. It might not be for our best interest to become part of the brotherhood or whatever.
Right.
We have a very, although we're messing it up day by day, we have a very great planet of resources here. Water, et cetera, minerals and all this other stuff, gold and all that other stuff that they would definitely want. We just would be in the way, maybe. But then we might be food for them too. There you go. So kind of like remember V, the TV series V.
I remember.
We might end up on the menu, Gerald.
I remember on the Twilight Zone, or maybe it was. I think it was a Twilight Zone where they landed on the planet and we're gonna help the people get off the planet, but it ended up being taking them for food. It was the manual was a cookbook.
Serve man, yeah, to serve man. That could go that way. I mean, we might be lower down on the food chain than we realize. That's kind of like what the orcs say when they went to eat that other orc. Meat's back on the menu, boys.
Yep. I mean, I haven't seen a video where they've came out and say we're here in peace. We come in peace. I haven't seen that video yet, but
yeah, we'll have to check that out. Aliens don't have nobody's interest at heart but their own, Juno says. There you go. That is very true. I've got the, let's see. Yeah, V on DVD. Yeah, V was good in his time, man. V was sort of really a little play off on world history. The visitors were really Nazis. That's what that was all about. That's who they were patterned after, and how the Nazis took control. remember their poster, the visitors are your friends. Yeah.
Right. But
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming, just going off what I know as far as my growing up and my upbringing, that there's good people and bad people in the human race. So I'm assuming that there's probably good in an alien race and bad. So which ones are actually going to make contact with us? I don't know.
Well, I think if there are benevolent alien races, I don't think we've run into them yet. I don't know. I mean, when I hear about all this other stuff and the many people I've talked to that have been abducted and all this thing, and I mentioned earlier to you before the show that some people are being haunted by UFOs. They're actually being haunted, paranormally haunted by these things. This does not come off as being the good guys. Okay, to me, these are very malevolent, not benevolent, but malevolent.
Right.
To me, they're affecting people. Like that guy I contacted that contacted me from Long Island, who couldn't get a good night's sleep because they harassed him every night. He would hear this beeping noise in his house, and even his brother heard it one night. His brother even heard, so it wasn't in his mind. Okay, and it wasn't anything around the house. He checked everything. He said every time he heard this noise, it'd be like 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the devil's hour, by the way. 3 o'clock in the morning, he looked out the window and there was that weird light in the sky. This is harassment, pure and simple. Okay, we're getting harassed here, folks, and it's not good. Okay, whatever's going on with that, you can't call that good. So if there is a benevolent race out there, I don't think we've actually truly met them, or they just haven't been that much of a presence here, you might say. To me, from what I hear, anyway.
Yep.
You know how the series showed the alien swallowing small animals? There exists footage of I think it was a WEF the leader with his throat making weird mutilations that look similar. Yeah, that's the way reptiles, snakes swallow. I've seen them do that. Swallow. I remember one time when I was about like 14 or something, my grandmother had a garden. I was out in her garden and I was a big snake out there. It was a king snake, though. They're good snakes. Don't ever kill king snakes. They're good snakes. And he was swallowing a frog whole. And it was amazing to watch that. The way they mutilate the prey down their throat is amazing. But that's the way reptiles function. But in my show's reptile dysfunction, okay? That's what I'm going to be talking about. I like the title. I think it's catchy.
It is. It's a nice play on words.
Morse code sounds like human in operations. Yeah. Well, this was just, it really had no pattern to it. It was just beep, 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 beep. That's what he told me. It was just beep, beep, beep. There was no pattern. It wouldn't, like Morse code. But that's the first thing I asked him. Is it a pattern? Is you think it's some kind of code? He said, no, it was just beep, 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 beep. Zuckerberg looks like he swallows small animals. Yeah, I don't even know if he's real or not. Okay, I don't know about that.
There's a lot of those guys that are in charge of our technology. I'm not so sure they're real or from this planet.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm funny about you should mention that too, Gerald, because Friday night on Paranormal Point of View, I'm going to be doing a show called Non-Human Entities. What are they really? And so we're going to be talking about that Friday night. We'll leave that for then, but that's going to be interesting too. I think without a doubt, and some of the evidence I've seen, that there are things out there walking around that just ain't human. Let me say this, okay? And I'll be talking about this Friday. When you drop below 50% human, you're no longer human, okay? There's something else, but you're no longer human. If you're not even half human, we've got a problem, okay? And I think you got some things out there like that, but we'll get into that Friday night. Long Island Bigfoot says, hey, Gerald, just laying back listening. Hope everyone is well. That's your Long Island Bigfoot.
Yep. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
And he also says hey to Jane, and she said hey back.
There you go. Yeah, Mike's a good friend of ours.
Yeah, I've had several interesting cases on Long Island. But this guy lived in Long Island.
Well, you get over there where Mike's from, that's how he started his channel, Bigfoot and Dogman, and of course you got Montauk and all that stuff, Philadelphia experiment. I mean, you got all that stuff that happened over there.
Well, you got a lot of places like that, Gerald, that are hot spots, just like Las Vegas and Nevada. Nevada's got a lot of weird stuff going on in it, not just backyard aliens. You've got a lot of haunted areas, supposedly haunted areas in Nevada as well. As our friend Jessica Jones went to Nevada the other day, I think, for a
Yeah, she
meeting
went
or
on a ghost
something.
hunt,
Yeah, she
paranormal
went to
investigation.
yeah. She talked about some haunted mines that are there, and some places like that. It is a very haunted state, Nevada. Nevada's got a lot of interesting history.
I mean, we live in a small farming community, a small farm town, and I'm not so sure some of those early 1800 houses aren't haunted.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's everywhere. It's just not in a big state community or whatever. It's in the small rural areas too.
That's what I told the guy I was talking to in England one time. When we say history over here, we go back about 200-300 years. You say history, you go back 2,000 or 3,000 years. There's a lot of history there. But history, wherever you find history, you're gonna find the paranormal. You're gonna have some strange stuff going on. Wherever you got any kind of history. But that is interesting, absolutely. But getting back to the backyard aliens, what do you think happened that night, Gerald? What's your opinion on it? What do you think really is going on
I
here?
I think it could be two separate incidents. I think it could be a meteor or a comet, not a comet, but a meteor or asteroid that they saw coming through our atmosphere that's, burning up. And then the paranormal, it could have been, like you said, it could have been paranormal, or it could have been over imaginary minds, or they got spooked. I don't know. I don't know what happened in that backyard because there's no real clear evidence other than the videos that we have and the testimony from the family. And so I don't know. I think it's two separate incidents, though.
I believe I go along with you too. I agree with that. I think that what happened that night already had them a little spooked anyway. I think that was the mindset when they went out in the backyard. There's weird things going on tonight. You got this weird light in the sky. You got some other things, and if they actually did see something out there, and I believe they saw something. I mean, I can't tell you for 100% for sure what it was. I wasn't there. I'd love to have been there, but I believe they saw something that spooked them. What that something was is still open for conjecture.
Right.
But if it was something cloaked like that, the cloak wasn't working real well, I don't guess, or whatever the situation, that maybe what spooked them. But I think they were already in the mindset because it was a very strange night. You know, whenever you have lights in the sky, you have you sort of a different feeling in the air. Whenever
Right.
you have celestial things going on, it sort of amplifies everything. And like I said, your fear can amplify these things to a great extent. That's just the way the human mind works. And especially if you're emotional about something. And what is the biggest emotion of all, Gerald? Fear. And they were already had that going on in their mind. So I believe if there'd have been a jackrabbit out there, they would have jumped at it. Okay, I mean, I just feel like it was their minds were said that Let me tell you a quick story. I probably have told you this before, but I'm an old man, so I get to repeat myself. Okay. Just the way the human mind works. The amazing Kreskin told this story. I know you remember who the amazing
Oh
Kreskin
yeah.
was.
Yep.
And he was all about the powers of the mind, but it was the powers of persuasion and the so subtle way you go about this stuff, subliminal things. And he said that he one night he did a show and he picked 10 people out of the audience randomly. He picked 10 people out and they all came up on the stage. And this is what he told them. He said, "Now we're going to go out in the back parking lot behind this building for the next 30 minutes and we're all going to skywatch because there's been
Right.
reports all week about UFOs being seen. And we're all going to go out here and watch." So they all went out there, and about 30 minutes later, they came back in. And so he asked all 10 people, "How many of you thought you saw something in the sky tonight?" And about 8 of them raised their hand. Said, "Oh, I saw something. I don't know what it was. I saw some lights." He said, "Well, I have a confession to make too. I lied. There's not been anything seen around here. Okay, I told you on a lie on purpose. I wanted to show you what happens when you seed the human mind." And I think we've got to understand that, especially as investigative field researchers too must understand. You've got to be very careful with what your mindset is when you go into something. If you think hard enough, you can make something be true that's not maybe true at all. It's just your belief system can gear that to be that way. We've got to be very careful how we seed or try not to seed our minds on things. And I think that might be what's a little bit of what was going on with the backyard aliens in Las Vegas. Right. They were already spooked. They were already spooked to a certain extent. But now, later, what's going on with the demonic activity in the house? That's strange too. Did what they did that night invite some entities that were already there, maybe into the house? You got some big questions still remaining in this strange case.
Yeah. So if it wasn't an alien or extraterrestrial or whatever, if it was spiritual or demonic, maybe they picked up an attachment and took it into their house, or maybe they manifested it themselves and brought it on themselves.
Yeah. That's a possibility. That happens with the demonic. Absolutely. Because the police came out and set up a high-tech, expensive surveillance system with police fenced over the backyard. They said they thought something happened. They wanted more data. They knew something's going on, but what? But it may not be what they think it is. It may not be aliens. It could be something of the demonic as well. We, the public, have not heard the police called anything else on tape. We need a spokesperson for the family. Angel says they have the had paranormal activity since and have come to believe it was demons and not aliens. Yeah, I read that earlier. Thank you, John Foreman. That's what we were talking about earlier. They now say they think it was fallen angels, demons, and not aliens that they're dealing with. So they're now saying that the meteor probably had nothing to do with it. It was something else altogether. But like I say, you got to remember the atmosphere that night. And the atmosphere was an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. That is exactly when the demonic will take advantage of things. When you get in that round set, like I hate to sound like a broken record, but I've said that so many times about the mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional capacities. Look at the emotional for a moment. Your emotions can mislead you. They can set you up to believe things that aren't necessarily true. I think emotions were running high that night. And that's the perfect playground for the demonic.
Yeah. So if you're already in fear, and that's what they feed in, that's what they thrive on, is the fear. So you would have your guards down, like you said, and your senses, and you might be scared, but you're not able to protect your mind, soul, and body, like we always talk about. So what were the things in the house happening? Was it like a poltergeist? Were they able to move stuff and knock stuff off shelves? Did the article say?
Yeah, that's just regular standard paranormal activity kind of a thing. Stuff moving around, going on like that. That is the way demonic hauntings begin sometimes. Urso says could be Men in Black that shut it down. I'm gonna tell you something about the Men in Black. I believe they are agents of the demonic. Okay, the Men in Black, I believe, are really bad guys. I've seen them. I kind of experienced the fallout from a meeting with those guys. Okay, and I almost died after I ran into the Men in Black. So they're not good guys in my book. Okay, definitely not, and they would definitely be agents of the bad kind in my book. The kid didn't give details on what paranormal activity. Yeah, he just said, John Foreman, that they have had a cross float upside down in the air in front of them. And when they walked up close to it, it fell on the floor. They had the Bible was being messed with. Pages of the Bible were being turned when there was no air or breeze in the room, just like somebody were doing it by hand. And some other things going on. That's why they say now they want to move from that house. But I got bad news. I got bad news for them. That might not even help them.
Might follow them wherever they go.
Yeah, you can pack demons in your suitcase too.
So they need to watch your show you had not too long ago about demonic possession and how to get rid of them. They need an exorcism. Maybe you should get a hold of them.
They need to. They do. Seriously, they do need some kind of demonic counseling to help them out of whatever situation is, because I believe that they created so much negativity that night that whatever negative there latched on. Here, let me say this about negativity. Okay, negative is sort of like a magnet with iron fillings. Okay, the more negativity it picks up, the stronger it gets, the more it attaches to it. If you're already negative, down, and you're negative, you've got some negative emotions going on, the negative picks up on that and attaches to it and feeds on it. That's what basically you could say it that way. You got to remember the demonic works on two things, two main factors: negativity and acknowledgement. You got both ways. It's a two-edged knife. Okay, it cuts both ways.
Well, here's the thing. When I was first came about this, I saw it probably on 6 or 7 platforms online, plus all these news stations all talking about it. Then the people that watched those, guess what they were focusing on? That family and that house. So all that was focused right in there on that spot. So that's a prime spot for paranormal and demonic activity to happen, because even everybody out in the community was focusing on that. That's what everybody was talking about.
Oh yeah. Well, like I say, it just seems like, and like we've said so many times before, many years, in demonology, it's not a good idea to call demons by name. You get their attention, you give them acknowledgement, you give them a door. If you're not careful, certain situations will open doors to other situations you might not want to mess with. That's just the way that works. But you have to be very careful. And like I said on my show the other night, words are power. Words and thoughts have a power of their own to a certain extent. You have to be very careful how you deal with it. But if I were there to counsel them, I think it wouldn't take very long to do it. And I tell them what they need to do. What they need to do is to focus more on the positive and try to negate the negativity part of what they're feeling. They're getting very fearful and agitated and anxious by these things. They don't need that. That just draws the negativity in and makes it stronger. You need to start fighting back against that, pushing back against that, and you push back against that, the darkness with the light, or the positive aspects of things. I would tell them to try to be more happy. If they're not going to move, try to be more happy, not to dwell on what has happened, to put it in the past and move on and put it behind them and say, okay, that belongs there. We're going past that now. My demons are behind me and not in front of me. And move on and look at life in a better way, in a more happier, positive way. I think that will go a long ways in defeating their problem.
Right. Yeah. If you, just like Chiro says, wearing her shirt tonight, raise your vibrations.
Oh, yeah, I've got
So if you, there you go, hunting the shadows.
I got the hunting shadows shirt on. This is the one I got from Sticker Mule, by the way. They did a fantastic job, Sticker Mule. And that's a go-to. I'm gonna give them a commercial tonight for free. That is a go-to place right there. They do some fantastic stickers. They did these stickers here. I got the square ones now. They did and cheap. I mean, you got like 50 stickers for like $14.95, man. I mean, you can't beat their prices. Free shipping on everything.
Yep.
So if any of you out there want any T-shirts or anything, go to Sticker Mule. That's the place to go. Absolutely.
So I was saying, if you raise your vibrations, like you said, think good thoughts, prayer, meditation, and then plus you also have to protect yourself, like we were talking to mind, body, and soul. You have to put your guards up. Whether it's through prayer, through whatever means you have.
That's true, Gerald. I mean, it depends on your mindset, a lot. Your mindset rules over your soul to a certain extent, and that's where your emotions, your physical, your mental, and your spiritual thing. You need to build yourself up spiritually too, and the best way to do that is, of course, go to church. Be around like-minded individuals. Get involved spiritually that way in worship. I'm not talking about go to church just to be seen now. A lot of people go to church for all the wrong reasons. Go to church for the right reasons. Okay, go to worship, to fellowship, and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. And that enhances your spirituality, and prayer and meditation and some other things you can do to enhance and strengthen your spiritual aspects, along with your mental aspects. You need to strengthen that, and your emotional and your physical. You need to try to have your body up to par. Everything needs to be in balance.
Right.
When it gets out of kilter, when it gets out of balance, like you say, that you get on a low vibrational plateau. You don't want to do that. You want to get on a high plateau.
You also have to take authority over yourself and your household and set boundaries.
You have to let them
know who's in charge and that you have power over them.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to be the victim. You want to be the warrior. And that's what I said on my show the other night. You take authority, take back your life, take back control. That's what you got to do, because these things will use you for a doormat if you let them.
Right.
And we don't. That's the bad thing about today's world, Gerald. There's that victim mentality going around. I'm a victim. This is I did this. We don't need to dwell on that. We don't need to let that rule our lives. We need to be warriors. We need to be people of power and positive thinking and highly spiritual. We need to work on all these things. We need to keep our mental capacity up to par. We need to keep our emotions in check. We need to have authority, like you say. We need to have authority on all these things. I think our Creator can give us that authority if we will let Him the right way. Absolutely. John Zortman says, I'm selling merchandise. I wish I could. I could get a cut out of it, but I don't. Blame that on therapy, huh? Oh, yeah. That's what a lot of, and that's where I've studied a lot of psychiatry in my time, and that's where I get off with some of these psychiatrists. They want you to get that feely stuff going on. You need to feel this, you need to feel that. Maybe you need to get tougher and harder on some of this stuff, you know, and not be that victim mentality thing going on.
Right.
It's just crazy.
I mean, that's how we were raised. I mean, you lost a limb or something, they told you to get up and walk it off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm all about tough love. Okay. Remember that? Tough love.
Tough love. It's
Don't get too
going to hurt
tough.
me more. It's going to hurt you. I'm not so sure, but all right.
That's what I heard. I heard a parent say one time. Said I just smack him real good one time. He said won't do any good. Said do me some good. But anyway.
But yeah, you can't be fearful. It's easy to worry and be fearful, but if you can control your emotions and get a hold of yourself and take a self inventory of your mind and body and soul, like we talked about,
your life's gonna be a whole lot better, Gerald.
Right.
People don't realize that your life's gonna be everything's gonna around you is gonna. I'm not gonna say everything's gonna start coming up daisies and rainbows here, okay? But I'm just saying your life's gonna be a whole lot better for you. Why not do it? It's only logical, as Mr. Spock would say. It's logical.
Because most of it's self-inflicted. You get worried, you start losing sleep, you don't eat right, your health starts deteriorating, then you start worrying more. So it's like a vicious circle. So you got to stop that circle. You got to take control of it.
It's like what Shakespeare said: "Cowards die many deaths, the brave die only one." I mean, you got to remember that. That's the warrior mentality. You got to fight. Here's what I said. And some man told me this one time years ago. You can either sit down and wait for death to show up, or you can get out and run and make his job harder. Okay, I like that idea. Make his job harder. He doesn't need to have an easy way with you.
Yep.
My severed limb needs its own safe space. Anyway, that's true. I think, by the way, severed limbs, I've had people tell me that, they have their leg cut off or whatever. They still feel their leg. Spiritually, you still have that leg.
Yeah, phantom
or that
pain.
arm or that finger. Yeah, spiritually, you still have that there. That's the way the mind works because the mind was used to that being part of you.
What if you lose your hand or arm and you're moving it, even though you don't have it, but it's doing something else in a different dimension or different timeline? What if it's over there doing something while you're moving it?
It still exists spiritually. Wherever it may be. John Fortman says, I remember an old radio commercial went, her, what you doing? Him, worrying her. Did it help him? No. Worry never helps anything. It just uses up a lot of valuable energy, though.
Yes, it does. Wears you down, makes you weak. You become sick, which makes you even more.
That's what Shakespeare meant when the cowards die many deaths. They die many times in their mind. The brave die only once. They don't worry about it, That's true with everything in life. The more you worry will not add 1 inch to your frame.
Don't make a mountain out of a molehill.
Yep. Well, as Humphrey Bogart said in a very famous movie, it don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. That's one of my favorite bogey movies there, Casablanca. Back when they knew how to make movies.
Oh, yeah.
What's your all-time #1 favorite movie, by the way, Joel?
My number one all-time favorite movie.
Uh-huh.
Well, that could go a lot of different directions. I got a lot of them, depending on if you're talking black and white or sci-fi or monster.
Maybe we need to classify that. Well, how about Western? What's your all-time favorite Western?
I would have to say it would be probably like John Wayne, True Grit.
Well, I'd have to. It would be a tie with El Dorado and probably Tombstone. Those are two of my favorites.
See, I like those too.
Yeah.
I don't know how you pick one though, but I mean, I like McClintock too. I watch McClintock all the time.
Yeah, that's a comedy.
There's so many good ones.
Yeah, people don't realize John Wayne could do comedy very well.
Right. I remember when John Wayne showed up in a bunny suit on Laugh-In. You remember that? Yeah, I've seen the videos.
I tell you somebody else that could do comedy, and that's Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
I think I say that right. Liam Neeson. Yep. He is funny as all get out when he wants to be. He's supposed to be doing a what's that Naked Gun movie, you know.
Yep.
That'd be good to see him. He did a thing. I saw him on Instagram where he's dressed up like Cupid, you know. And he's got a bow and arrow. Says, I'm gonna shoot this arrow straight into your heart. Only Liam Neeson can do that. That's great. He's great. I like him. He's a great actor. He played a creepy mortician in that Afterlife movie. Boy, that was. He can do it. He's a great actor.
Yeah, and I Know Where You Live.
I know where you live. I'll be coming after you, and nothing on this world will stop me. I'll do my Batman for you. I'm Batman. I'm in the night. I am vengeance. Does quickly down under count the Western? Yes, it does.
Yeah,
it's
I like
still Australia. It's Western, Australian Western. Yeah,
I love
That's a good
Roy.
movie.
I like that when she was playing crazy. I love you, Roy. My name's not Roy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great movie too. Yeah. You do know that Tom Selleck was up to play Indiana Jones and couldn't do it because he was on Magnum, and they gave it to Harrison Ford. He would have made a great Indiana Jones.
There's a lot of movies.
Actually, listen to this, Gerald. Towards the end of Magnum, he does an episode of Magnum where he plays Indiana Jones. Have you ever seen that?
No.
So he kind of went back and got he got his revenge on it. Okay.
But there's a lot of actors that weren't a first choice of really famous good movies.
I was a big fan of Magnum. I always liked Magnum.
Yep, I like Tom Selleck. I like that Stone.
That second Magnum they did was awful. I never watched that.
No.
The original Magnum with Tom Selleck. That was the best. And Higgins was my favorite. That's my all-time favorite boy.
His Tom Selleck movie with it's called something Stone. What was that? He did like 5 or 6 movies of a series where he's a detective.
Oh yeah, where he went back and did some old movies like.
No, it was current time. He was instead of his normal character, he was like a detective.
I can't think of who was that. Tom Selleck, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. He might have. I don't remember any movies.
They were like TV movies. They were Jesse Stone.
Oh, okay.
So he had like 5 or 6 movies where he was a detective, and they were all about him solving cases, and that was really good.
Yeah, I'd have to check that out. Yeah, no way. Tom Selleck would have been a good Indiana Jones. Yeah, he would. He just looked like Indiana Jones. If they did a new indie movie today, what new young indie would you cast? Oh, I don't know. Let's see. That's a good question.
What was the question?
Oh, if they made a new Indiana Jones movie, what new Indiana Jones would you cast?
Oh,
In today, I think what's his name, Tom McNaughton, the guy from Texas. You know what I'm talking about? Is
I
his
might know.
name Tom
I don't know
McNaughton?
the name.
Yeah, he would be good. I think. He kind of
Did you
has
ever,
a look.
going back to Tom Selleck, did you ever see the movie with Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons, where Gene Simmons was a bad guy with all the robotic spiders and stuff?
Oh yeah, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. I was thinking about, let's see, who was that? I was telling about the other night. Believe it or not, what's his name? Uh, what's the guy that does Yellowstone? What's his name?
Kevin Costner.
Yeah, Kevin Costner. Actually, did a horror movie, and it was pretty good. It's called The New Daughter, like an
Yeah.
old daughter. This is the new daughter, and it's got about some things living in a mound, a burial mound on his property, and he's like it takes place in South Carolina, not around here, I don't think. But anyway, you need to watch that sometime. That was a good horror movie, The New Daughter. It's about it. This thing affects his daughter differently. She just becomes another person altogether, and it's kind of the horror of it is from the father's perspective of what's going on. He did a great job, but believe it or not, he did a Kevin Costner in a horror movie.
There's several dark Kevin Costner movies. There's one where he's like a serial killer or a killer, and he gets this woman to fall in love with, and so he's not the person that she's really fallen in love with, and it's a really dark movie.
Well, Chuck Norris did a horror movie where he was a detective after a demon. This serial killer was actually really a demon in disguise. What was the name of that? That was a great movie. I can't think of it. It was a very good Chuck Norris movie. From Hell or something. I can't remember now. What the name
There's
of it was.
a lot of
Anyway.
movies like that, like the one Seven Signs or whatever that one was. That was about a demonic. And then you got Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was in one where he was fighting demons. And
oh yeah. It says the guy from Texas is a little vague. I think his name is Tom Tom McLaughlin or something like that. I can't think of his last name. He used to be in car commercials a lot. I think that was his name. I can't think of his name. We're watching the series Evil now at your recommendation as well. Second season. You talking about Evil or Grimm? Grimm is the one I was watching. Grimm, a whole series is on Prime. Grimm is great. It's got a lot of great cryptid stuff in it. Wasn't Angel Heart, was it? Angel Heart was what was what was the guy's name in Angel Heart? Angel Heart was voodoo stuff. It was mostly voodoo. Young. It was a wow. What was his name? I don't think it was his name. That was a pretty good movie. I'll tell you what I watched the other night. I don't know if you've ever seen this, Gerald. I recommend this to everybody out there. Have you ever seen Dylan Dog?
No.
That is a great paranormal movie, by the way. Dylan Dog. You need to watch that. It's great. It's real funny. It's kind of a comedy. It's sort of Constantine with comedy, okay?
There's a
it's pretty good.
Coming out since you mentioned that.
Yeah. He carries a business card, said if it doesn't breathe, it doesn't matter. Or something.
Right. Did you see that?
It's
They're
good
making
movie.
Constantine too. They're doing the second part of Constantine.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, I heard about that. I hope they get that out. I have a love hate relationship with Constantine. I like the movies. I just don't like the way he goes about stuff. He's using evil to defeat evil. That don't make sense to me. But anyway, that's comic book stuff for you. Because he was originally from the comic books. But anyway. Oh yeah, Philip said he loved Dylan Dog. Yeah, Dylan Dog is good. It's really good. And the guy that plays Dylan Dog's assistant in this thing movie, like almost stole a movie from him. Okay, he's so funny. He's a real funny guy. Yeah, and but it's about monster hunters, vampires, and werewolves. You got to watch it. It's a great movie. Tom Selleck was in a movie called Daughters of Satan. Yeah, I remember that. He was in a horror movie. Turned out his wife was a real bad witch. She was a humdinger. Most of that movie was just excuse when women take their clothes off, but it was pretty good. Tom Selleck did very good. He didn't have a mustache, by the way. I don't think. In that movie, I don't think it did. Yeah, Dylan Dog is another one that's kind of like Dylan Dog. I can't think of that one now. But I always like Constantine. You know, I like his story and everything, but I just don't like his methods. I need to have a long talk with that boy one day. Long talk. Well, we've moved on from backyard aliens to demons and Constantine and all that, but I think it was an interesting program tonight, man.
Yeah, we did really good for a while. Then we kind of got off track, and now we're almost in like your Friday paranormal point of view show.
Yeah. Red Pill Preacher's checking in there. Pre-epic mustache, Philip said. Yep. He doesn't. He wasn't just all a mustache, but he looked funny without it.
Yeah, once you're used to him being that way.
Yeah, his in the movie, his wife is a witch. Well, okay, if you marry a girl and you buy a painting and she's in the painting getting burned at the stake, you might better worry about that marriage, okay?
might be a
that's
red
what this
flag.
movie's about. Yeah, that's a little bit of a warning right there, folks. Okay. Dennis, I agree with you about Constantine series 100%. Overbuilt says, yeah. I mean, I like the character, I like the stories and all that, but it's the method. I don't know. But
Have you ever seen the movie with Johnny Depp, The Ninth Gate?
Oh yeah, The Ninth Gate. That was pretty good.
That was a good movie.
You ever seen the one where he was a writer? I think it's called Secret Window. And then it is a very interesting psychological thriller.
Yep, I've seen it.
Yeah, that was good. He did very good in that. Ninth Gate was the Ninth Gate didn't end quite right, though. I'm not gonna give it away for people that haven't seen it. But to me, it didn't end quite the way I would have wanted it to end. But that's the way it goes. But anyway, I'm trying to think about what's the name of that girl? Kate Beckinsale. What was those movies she was in? Where she was a vampire, you know? What was the name of that movie? No, and I can't think of it. Kate Beckinsale was a vampire, and she was and her boyfriend was a werewolf, and they were always having a war, you know.
Oh,
that's kind of like what you got in Dylan Dog. There's kind of a war between vampires and werewolves a little bit. Underworld, yeah, I couldn't think of it.
Underworld, yeah.
That was I liked the first couple of Underworlds. The rest of them after that, but the first couple of them were good.
Then you had the Lycans or whatever. Was
Yeah.
like an offshoot off of that.
Yep. That was good. Let me put up what Crystal's saying and go hit the thumbs up on tonight's podcast. That's right. Give us the thumbs up, ring that bell or whatever. And do some comments after the show. That's good for the algorithm. Okay.
That's right.
Do the comments. But we appreciate y'all sitting here tonight. Any final thoughts on the backyard aliens there, Gerald?
No, I mean, I think initially, you know, it was a great focal point and it brought people out thinking about the subject. But then, you know, it started becoming, okay, it's over sensationalized. People were saying it was fake. And now you got people like the scientists say that they can prove that, okay, there was something back there. Like you said, whatever it is, we don't really know. But that shadow, that kind of cloaky looking figure. And then now you're saying the demonic things that are happening or paranormal in the house. So it's like, okay, was it one or two events? Maybe three? Maybe all three things aren't related. I don't know.
Well, there is sometimes certain cases where even UFO or alien activity can precipitate paranormal activity in the house. It's almost as if it activates it to a certain extent. But I think what a lot of times you're dealing with maybe spiritual entities of some sort, and it may be what they picked up that night out there in the backyard. But I think they were already preconditioned a little bit by what was going on that night. And maybe there might have been a little slight exaggeration inside. I'm not going to go into that. But I think also, though, that there are other contributing factors in this. And it'll be interesting to watch it as time goes on to see what other leaf page turns on this. But it is interesting to note that a lot of times I've seen a lot of cases, Gerald, in the past where it seems like paranormal activity has been activated by UFO sightings, other weird stuff that goes on. We know without a doubt, like the very same thing that happened to me when I had my UFO sighting. I had a lot of governmental interference. I had that feeling of being watched. I became almost kind of paranoid because I didn't know what was going to happen next. Weird phone calls, people getting in my yard, doing all kinds of weird stuff. I haven't told everybody to this day everything that went on, and still does to a certain extent from time to time. There's some kind of a weird tie-in with all this, and as John Keel said, the smoking gun may not be always as obvious, but it's still got smoke coming out of it. And I think that's a factor we have to take into account on a lot of these things. But if I would love to be able to counsel this family and tell them, the things they can do now to protect themselves, to make themselves feel better, since they've gone through this kind of I call it an almost spiritual attack of some sort. Okay, that's what it looks like to a certain extent. I don't think their lives have been the same since that night, and I think it's beginning to bother them. I think it's beginning to worry them a lot. So I would definitely. I hope they get. Even if it's not me, I hope somebody will counsel them and help them out of the situation, whatever it may be. But it'll be interesting to see what goes down in the future on that. Dennis, can you tell us again how to submit our true paranormal stories? You can. I put on my Facebook the other day too. You need to check my Facebook news feed every once in a while. But I put on there the other day, you can contact me at denniswcarroll.com, or you can Gmail me at denniswcarroll@gmail.com with any your stories, observations, incidents, or anything like that you wanted to talk to me about, whatever the situation is. You can do Gerald the same way. Gerald, give me your email.
We're at MidwestNightWatchers@gmail.com. and our YouTube channels and all our Facebook groups are all Midwest Night Watchers.
Here's one more interesting thing. You fell in line with current psyops, the flash and forward, the agenda for oblivion. It would not surprise me a bit if some of that's not going on. I don't know if this is the case with the backyard aliens, but I think we do know that that has happened in the past and will definitely be more of in the future. As I've said before about clones, robotics, so all that stuff, I'm going to be talking about that Friday night. But as I said before, the public arena is the perfect place to experiment with.
Right.
And you know the government is not going to pass that opportunity up. It's not going to do it. Knowing what I know about them, I don't see them doing that. But you want to tell them about your upcoming shows there, Gerald? What you got coming up?
Yes, actually, tomorrow night me and Jane will be guests on Science Bob and Lala Bright show, Orbis Paranormal on YouTube. So we are going to be on there talking about our orbs and skyfish and stuff we catch on security cameras. And then Thursday, we will be on the Castle Dude, Neil's channel from the UK. He does paranormal and ghost hunts. And he goes to the castles. We've had him on our show before. So we're going to be on, he's starting to do interviews with people. So we're going to be on his show Thursday in the afternoon for us here in the States. It'll be at evening for them in the UK. And then Sunday, we're going to have you on. You're up this Sunday on our show on Midwest Night Watchers.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll be a busy man this week with all your shows, and then Saturday, and then Sunday with us, and back here again with me and you on Monday. So it's going to be a busy weekend for you.
I'm liable to wear the internet out if we're not careful here. You tell Lala I said hey, though, by the way. I haven't seen her in a long time.
I will.
But now on my show, Wednesday night, we're gonna have a discussion on Wednesday night on. I was gonna do the show. I'm gonna do the show very soon on reptile dysfunction. Okay, but that's probably next week sometime probably. But this Wednesday, let's see what I got this Wednesday night. Let's see, Wednesday night. I got non-human entities Friday night on Paranormal Point of View. But this Wednesday night, I don't know. I don't remember what that is. But anyway, tune in Wednesday night and find out. We'll all be surprised, okay? And I gotta get my ducks in a row, but they all keep quacking around here. But anyway, you be sure to tune in Wednesday night, 9 o'clock. Friday night, 9 o'clock. Monday night, 9 o'clock. Everything 9 o'clock with me, okay? So I appreciate you all being here tonight. And I hope if you run into any backyard aliens, that we'll be the first people you call, okay?
Yeah, let us know.
We'll be standing by just in case. All right. Surprises are good. Yeah, surprises are good. I said once upon a time I was a knight. Surprise. Okay, but that's an old joke.
Surprise.
I had to go back and re-listen. That's all you said. Dang it, show. That's a reptile dysfunction. Okay, don't miss don't mishear that now. Okay.
Yeah, that's
reptile dysfunction. Okay, we're gonna talk about reptilians. Okay, absolutely. Well, Gerald, I appreciate you being here tonight, brother, and
looking forward to next week.
Get into next time. Yeah, we'll see what we get into next week. Who knows what we'll come up with?
I got a really good one for next week.
Yeah. Well, now I picked this last one. I'll let you do the next one, okay?
Yeah, I got one in mind already. I think it's going to be a really good one.
Yeah. Well, we'll come up with something Sunday. Let's talk. I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's talk Sunday. We'll talk on Nephilim a little bit, huh? How about that? We hadn't done that before. Nephilim is good. It's always good. Giants and Nephilims and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll hang it up for now. I want to appreciate you all being here. Thank each one of you individually if I could. But we really appreciate you being here and joining us on the road less traveled. And until we hook up again, remember, what do you always say, Gerald?
Keep looking up, and Jane says, keep your vibrations high.
All right. And keep looking up and keep yourself in the middle of the road now, okay? All right, on the road less traveled. Until we get together again, take care. Bye-bye.